They think they still hold the power, don't they? Watching, waiting for you to trip up, for you to slip. They think you're still struggling, still at the mercy of their laughter. It's almost pathetic, isn't it? How they've built their entire existence on the idea that you would fall. They sat back in their little thrones, mocking you, pointing fingers, whispering about how they knew you'd never amount to anything, how you were nothing. But now they're as silent as the grave. Funny how things change, isn't it? They've got nothing left to say. Their mouths are sealed shut, their pride crushed under the weight of your success, and yet they refuse to admit it, because admitting it would mean they were wrong. And that's a harder pill to swallow than anything you could have done to them. You see, this is the part they never understood. They thought their words could wound you. They thought their opinions would define your worth. But they didn't realize you were never playing their game. No, you were sitting in the background, watching them with a smirk, waiting, watching their every move, observing, taking notes. They were busy trying to tear you down, but all you were doing was building yourself up. They thought you were weak. They thought you were fragile. But you were the storm waiting to hit them, the calm before the chaos. And so, you waited. You let them think they were winning. They laughed as you stumbled. They laughed as you fumbled through the hard times. They thought you were out of the race, thought you were fading into obscurity. But you were never out. You were never gone. You were just waiting. And when the moment came, when the time was right, you struck. Not with anger, not with hate. No, that's not your style. You outsmarted them. You played them like puppets, while they threw their insults, their jabs, their mockery. You pulled the strings. You controlled the narrative. You turned their strengths into weaknesses. Their weapons, they became your tools. And when you finally made your move, it wasn't a big flashy spectacle. It wasn't loud or brash. It was cold, calculated, perfectly executed. And now, silence. Silence that speaks louder than any words ever could. They're sitting there, staring at their broken egos, wondering where it all went wrong. They don't have the courage to speak, not anymore. The silence is eating them alive. It's suffocating them. Because silence is a prison. They built it themselves, brick by brick, with every insult, every moment they thought they had control. And now, they're trapped. They're locked inside their own cage, with no key to let themselves out. The truth is, they'll never understand it. How could they? They were too busy trying to destroy you to realize what was happening. Too busy laughing at your mistakes to see that you were learning. Too busy pretending they were in charge to notice the power slipping away from their fingers. And now, here they are, in the aftermath. What have they got? Nothing. Silence. Their words can't hurt you anymore. They've lost their bite. They've lost their sting. The power has shifted, and they are powerless to stop it. But this silence, as golden as it may feel, is only temporary. Oh, they'll come back. They always do. They'll try to find a way to claw their way back into your world. They'll attempt to whisper behind your back, to stir the pot once more. But that's just it, isn't it? Their attempts are futile. They're too far behind now. They'll never catch up. They'll always be chasing you. But you've already outsmarted them. They can't play the game like you do. They'll try to undermine you. They'll try to find your weaknesses again, to tear you down once more. But the difference now? They've exposed themselves. They've shown their true nature. They've revealed their desperation. They'll never recover from that. They'll always be the fool. It's almost poetic, isn't it? How they thought they could break you. How they thought they could destroy you with their words and their hate. They didn't realize they were playing with fire. They didn't realize they were walking on the edge of a cliff, and they just pushed you closer to the edge. But you didn't fall. You didn't crumble. Instead, you took that push and turned it into your flight. You soared, while they stayed rooted, trapped in their own ignorance. But you've seen the world from the top now. You know what it means to rise above the hate. And when they look up, they'll only see your back. They'll never be able to reach you again. So let them stew in their silence. Let them wonder what happened. Let them suffer the weight of their own failure. They had their shot. They had their chance to destroy you, to ruin your name. But all they've done is make themselves irrelevant. They've made themselves a joke. And as much as they hate it, as much as they try to deny it, they know deep down they've lost. They've lost to you. And they will never get that victory back. You didn't just outsmart them. You've left them in the dust where they'll stay forever. The silence that hangs in the air is the only reminder they have of what happened. A quiet, suffocating reminder that they underestimated you. And now they'll live with the consequences forever. They'll come back. They'll try again. But it won't matter. You'll always be one step ahead. Always. Because you've learned from every mistake, every moment of weakness, every insult. And now you're unstoppable. Silent? Maybe, but only for now. When the time comes, you'll rise again, and they'll be left once more in the shadows of their own failure. The silence is like a heavy fog. You can feel it creeping into your bones, seeping into your mind, smothering the echoes of their laughter. You thought it would feel like victory, didn't you? The moment you outsmarted them, the moment you left them in the dust. But silence, real silence, it does something to you. It forces you to confront the emptiness they left behind. It's a reminder that they were never really your enemy. They were just distractions, tiny pawns in the game you were always meant to play. And now they're nothing. Their voices are mute, their presence irrelevant. But that doesn't mean you've won yet. You know that. You can feel it. The battle's not over. It's never over. They've gone quiet, but they're still there, lurking, watching, waiting, in the shadows. You know that silence is a mask, a temporary retreat. They're plotting their return, scheming, looking for a crack in your armor. They'll try to test you again. They'll try to remind you of your flaws, your failures. They'll do it in the most insidious way possible. Subtle, calculated. They'll whisper from the corners of the world, hoping to drag you back into their web. But you're not so easily fooled anymore, are you? You've learned the game. You've mastered it. And now, you're not just playing their rules, you're rewriting them. You see, that's what they'll never understand. You don't need to destroy them. You don't need to grind them into dust. You don't need to get your hands dirty. No, the true power lies in leaving them trapped in their own ignorance. Let them scramble. Let them fight each other. Let them scream. Let them burn. And you sit back and watch the flames. The beauty of it is that it doesn't matter what they do. It never did. Because you've already won. You've already outsmarted them. But there's a truth they don't realize, a truth you've learned the hard way. You don't get to stop at outsmarting them. That's only the first part. The game, the real game, it's about owning the silence. It's about basking in the emptiness and making it your throne. They wanted you to fail, but they never expected you to rise from their ashes, to wear the quiet like a crown. They never expected you to be the one they're chasing. They never expected you to leave them behind, and that is what will eat at them. Day by day, they'll hear your footsteps echoing in their heads, but you won't be anywhere to be found. Not anymore. Not for them. The world works in circles, doesn't it? A predator's gaze always lingers on what it's lost. The ones who once seemed so small to you, so beneath your attention, they're now the ones who can't let go. Their minds, twisted by the reality that they can't control you, will become obsessions. You're the one that got away. You're the one they can't break. And they hate that. They hate that you've learned how to thrive without them, without their validation, their opinions. You've built something stronger, something permanent. They'll never see it coming, how the game has shifted again, how the next round will be your turn to take everything from them. They'll try. They always do. They'll throw everything they've got at you. And that, my friend, is when the real fun begins. You've been preparing for this moment your whole life, whether you realized it or not. You've been sharpening your mind, learning their weaknesses, learning the angles, learning the ways they manipulate and deceive. You've been biding your time, waiting for them to trip, waiting for them to make a mistake. And now, they've made their mistake. They've underestimated you. They've underestimated your resolve, your will, your ability to bounce back from anything. They will scream. They will plead. They will beg. They'll come crawling back, trying to salvage whatever dignity they have left. But it will be too late. You've moved beyond them. They won't recognize the person they thought they knew. They won't recognize the version of you that stands now, unshaken, unwavering. You are no longer the person they thought would crumble under pressure. No, you are the storm. And they are the ones caught in the aftermath. There's power in the stillness. There's a certain strength in letting them stew in their failures, in letting them feel the weight of their own incompetence. But you can't get too comfortable. You can't let the silence lull you into complacency. You're not here to rest. You're here to make them suffer the consequences of underestimating you. You've made it this far, and the finish line? It's just the beginning. The silence? It's only temporary. The chaos is coming. The reckoning is near. And when it comes, when they finally realize the true depth of what they've lost, it will be too late. They won't have the strength to fight. They won't have the will to challenge you. Because by the time they realize what they've done, you will be gone. They'll never reach you again. You've outsmarted them. You've left them with nothing but empty promises and shattered egos. And now you're unstoppable. The silence lingers, suffocating, but it isn't weakness. No, that silence has become your canvas, a blank slate for the masterpiece you're about to create. Every second they spent mocking you, doubting you, now serves as the raw material for your ascension. They were the architects of their own downfall, and you, the silent artist, the sculptor of destruction, are just beginning to shape what's to come. They thought they could break you. They thought you were nothing more than an experiment to satisfy their egos. But their assumptions were their prison, and you, my friend, You're the warden. It doesn't matter how many times they try to come back, how many times they lash out in a desperate attempt to reignite the fight. It's over. They're out of moves. You're far beyond their reach, an enigma they can't solve. They'll seek validation from their twisted little circles, whispering your name, trying to make themselves feel relevant again, but it will all fall on deaf ears. The more they scream, the more their words will crack and wither in the wind, forgotten. It's the sweetest form of revenge, the kind where your enemies don't even know how irrelevant they've become, how powerless they are against you. They thought they could break you with their cruelty, but all they did was expose their own fragility. You see, that's the true art of it, isn't it? You never needed to resort to violence, never needed to stoop to their level. Your strength wasn't in breaking bones, but in breaking minds, in breaking their confidence, in making them question everything they ever thought was real. And now, they're like ghosts, shadows of the people they used to be, haunted by the fact that you've risen above them. They don't have the strength to face you, not anymore. And the moment they realize that, the moment they understand, they'll never win. That's when their true defeat begins. The quiet that follows their humiliation is nothing short of poetic. They'll stew in their failures, bound by the chains of their own mistakes. You're free. You've slipped out of their grasp. And no matter how much they try to stretch out their arms to reach you, they won't touch you again. You're untouchable. You're in a league they can never hope to enter. And they know it. They feel it in the pit of their stomachs, gnawing at them like a hungry beast. And yet, despite all this, they'll still try. They'll never truly let go. That's the way of the bitter, the defeated. They'll whisper your name behind your back, pretending they've won, pretending they still matter, but you know better. You know that the only thing that matters is this. You will always be the one they never saw coming. You will always be the one they never understood. Their hate, their arrogance, their need to break you was their own undoing. They didn't know they were signing their own death sentence by underestimating you. As time drags on, they'll feel the weight of their own hubris. They'll watch as you grow stronger, more untouchable, more resilient. And the more they watch, the more their frustration will twist them into something even darker. They'll become obsessed with the question, how did you do it? They'll ask themselves over and over again. They'll replay every moment, every look, every word, trying to figure out where they went wrong. But they'll never know. They'll never see it coming. Because the truth is, they were never playing the same game as you. You were always miles ahead, always thinking 3 steps forward, while they were stuck in their petty grudges. The beauty of it all is this. They'll never understand the depth of your strategy. They'll never know how many times you stood back, biding your time, watching, waiting for the perfect moment. They'll never comprehend the mental warfare you waged while they wasted their time screaming, throwing stones at a wall they thought was fragile. And when that moment arrives, when you finally show them what you've been building in the dark, it will be like a bomb going off in their minds. Their disbelief will echo in every corner of their existence. They'll be forced to admit the truth. You were always the one in control. But it doesn't end there. You see, the silence, the peace that follows your triumph, it's not just your victory, it's your foundation. From this moment on, you will rise, you'll grow, and they'll stay stuck in their failure, watching from the sidelines, wishing they could have been you. But they can't. They never will. They can't even comprehend the kind of person you've become. You're something they'll never replicate. You're a force beyond their reach, beyond their understanding. You've outsmarted them. You've left them in the dust. And now, as you walk away, with the world at your feet and the pieces of their broken egos scattered in your wake, you'll realize something. You didn't need their approval. You never did. Their hate, their doubt, their mockery. It was nothing more than the fuel you used to light the fire that will never be extinguished. They were your stepping stones, the bricks that built the empire you now stand on. And as for them, well, they'll be forever chasing something they can't even define. The silence speaks for itself. You outsmarted them, and now they're nothing but a faint whisper in the wind.